everyone. I'm Nicole Sapphire, along with Jason Chaffetz, Todd Pyro, and Alicia Acuna, and welcome to the Big Weekend Show. The big story tonight. President Trump is launching an all-out trade war against China, Mexico, and Canada, slapping our top three partners with tariffs in an effort to curb the flow of illegals and fentanyl into our country. Thanks to the Biden administration's failed policies, migrants have been pouring over both our northern and southern borders, leaving the nation vulnerable. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem called out the problems earlier today.
You've seen the president take action already this week with Colombia, and you saw Colombia react in a very positive way that was good for everyone involved. Canada, Mexico, other countries have the opportunity to do exactly the same. Canada has some work to do as far as helping us secure our northern borders. We have people coming into our country from China, from foreign countries. We have people on the terrorist watch list that come in.
Over 1,200 migrants with suspected terror ties were encountered at the northern border during the Biden era, almost double what was at the southern border. And instead of fixing the problem, Canada's prime minister wants to retaliate.
And now is also the time to choose Canada. There are many ways for you to do your part. It might mean checking the labels at the supermarket and picking Canadian-made products. It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or foregoing Florida orange juice altogether. It might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here in Canada.
Summer vacation plans in Canada. Canadians seem to be following Trudeau's lead, though, and are taking their anger over tariffs out at the hockey rink. And of course, President Trump is firing back, writing on Truth Social today that, quote, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country. Harsh but true. Therefore, Canada should become our cherished 51st state. Now, coming up, we have Lucas Tomlinson. Hey, Lucas.
Well, good evening, Doc. President Trump is returning to Washington this evening, where some economists think these new tariffs could raise some prices across the United States, something the president himself acknowledged in a post on Truth Social, saying, in quote, will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will be all worth the price that must be paid. And here's his Vice President J.D. Vance earlier on Sunday Morning Futures.
We still have, thank God, the biggest economy in the entire world, the best people and the best workers. But the message from President Trump to the entire world is very clear. We are done being taken advantage of, and we have a president who looks out for the interests of American citizens.
The Senate's top Democrat, Chuck Schumer, says Super Bowl parties this year, the game on Fox, of course, could be more expensive this year.
Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
Now, earlier on Fox, the premier of British Columbia is calling for a boycott on alcohol from red states in the United States.
When an action like this is taken against our country, we have to fight smarter. And when we target specifically the decision makers that are supporting this trade action against Canada, I want to work with the president on fighting transnational organized crime. Let's get back to that.
Now, tomorrow, President Trump meets with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. That's his first meeting with a foreign leader at the White House since returning to office. Next week, Jordan's King Abdullah arrives at the White House for a meeting next week. Doc?
All right, Lucas Tomlinson in West Palm Beach, Florida. Thanks so much. All right, guys. Well, you know, Jason, being the experienced member of Congress, I want to show you these numbers. The migrants, again, with suspected terror ties encountered at the northern and southern border under the Biden administration. 1,216 at the northern border, 687 at the southern border. You know, we're less than 2 weeks into President Trump's presidency. Do you think these tariffs are a good idea?
Yeah, they do. Canada's got to do their bit. Look, they got about 41 million people. We got 330 million people. You want access to our markets, you got to protect your border. We are having encounters of nearly 37,000 people coming across the border from Canada in the United States. Now it's closer to like 200,000. The numbers have gotten out of control. The fentanyl's coming across. The other things are coming across. They're taking advantage of our markets. I'm glad we finally have a president who's saying, no, I'm going to stand up. And can't Chuck Schumer stand up for America? He's out touting Mexican products. But what about talking about, I don't know, I don't drink beer, but Budweiser, Coors comes to mind. There are other American companies he could stand up for. And by the way, that's a guy who doesn't even know how to grill a burger. So I don't take a lot of advice from him.
And last time I checked, you can grow avocados in the United States.
We do.
I know we do. It's a fact. You know, Alicia, President Trump explains why the U.S. he explains why he feels that we must impose these tariffs. Take a listen.
Really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
And now, some of these people listening to that, the may or may not rise with times. This could potentially lead to higher prices in the grocery store, at the gas pump, and that is one of the main driving issues behind the November election. You know, what could this potentially mean now, and what about the upcoming midterms in a couple years?
Right. Now, the president has said that if these countries do impose retaliatory tariffs, that he would then expand our side of the tariffs here. So, as Americans are watching this, Democrats definitely are watching from a strategic standpoint, because we still don't know what the impact could be if these countries see some relief, if they do acquiesce to some of the requests made by President Trump here. So I think we're in a wait and see. Democrats definitely will need this on the campaign trail to work for them, because right now they don't really have a lot going for them. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, Todd, speaking of the Liberal Party, I mean, President Trump is teasing, you know, Canada being the 51st state, but the Liberal Party of Canada is a complete mess. Just like what happened to President Biden, Trudeau's being ousted by his own party before their upcoming election. What do you think this is going to do for the Canadian election coming up in October?
When their prime minister currently, who will be out in a few weeks, makes such an ignorant statement like that, I think it makes it more and more likely that the Liberal Party is going to be so far gone in Canada going forward, and they are going to want to have a partner with Donald J. Trump going forward. And you know how I know that statement was ignorant? Because he talks about people vacationing in the summer in Florida. People in Florida get out of Florida in the summer. Nobody's vacationing in Florida in the summer. But let's get serious for a moment. Let's block out all the noise. Let's block out the Star-Spangled Banner booing and all that other stuff. What Mexico and Canada are fighting for is to continue to allow illegal fentanyl and illegal aliens to come into our country. At its core, that's what they're fighting for. So you have to take a step back and say, why would they fight for the destruction of our country so much? Because if they just did the right thing and said, okay, we're going to close up shop, no more fentanyl, no more illegal aliens coming to your country, these tariffs go away. So we need to block out all the noise and realize fundamentally Trump is trying to save American lives. And before I conclude, Charles Gasparino, our colleague, made a really good point when it comes to Mexico. He said, the tariffs are the light way that Donald Trump's going about this. Because if Donald Trump really wants to lay the heavy hand of America down on him, he will send the Navy SEALs in to destroy the cartels, and they'll be done in 3 days. So tariffs, not that bad at first look.
Well, if Trudeau actually admits that there is an immigration problem, then he's going to be admitting that his own failed immigration policies and asylum policies, which has led to this massive influx of migrants into his country, where they have all of these missing people from student visas. They get these easy visas, and now they're not even going to school anymore, and they're just coming into the United States for we don't even know why. It will be admitting his own policies have failed.
Can I just add that Justin Trudeau, I really don't care what he thinks. He's irrelevant at this point.
Out.
You know who loves this? Our Americans love it. People that make their goods in America, they are better off. That's what Donald Trump said he was going to do, and that's what he's doing.
All right. Well, turning now to Democrats, because they're also lost, and apparently new leadership isn't going to help them find their way. It's a scathing new expose. The New York Times conducted over 50 interviews with party members who feel Democrats have no coherent message, with the article saying, quote, There is little consensus on how or even whether to prioritize the party's traditional concerns like abortion rights, LGBTQ equality, and climate change. Some Democrats fear that even as those issues continue to animate the party's base, they fail to resonate among a broader swath of voters like we saw in the last presidential election. This follows a new Quinnipiac poll showing Democrats are more unpopular than ever, hitting a record high of 57%. So clearly Democrats haven't got the message that America is tuning them out. Alicia, but we keep seeing the Democrats still don't even acknowledge what they did wrong.
Right, and it's difficult to fix a problem that you can't identify. But I will bring up a couple of Democrats who do stand out that we've seen over the years who have figured out a way to make it work. I'll talk about Colorado Governor Democrat Jared Polis and Democratic Senator out of Arizona, Ruben Gallego. Ruben Gallego won the state of Arizona in November in a GOP year, because what he did was he didn't toe the party line when it came to cultural issues. What he did was he shied away from telling people what they should think and listened to what their concerns were, and then he identified them. Things like immigration. He talked about border security. He talked about health care and the economy, and that's what he continued to do. When it comes to Governor Jared Polis, I will tell you, back in 2020, when the COVID pandemic began, he refused to publicly fight with President Trump at the time. Anytime the media tried to engage him in any sort of fight when it came to COVID, he would say, all I care about is making sure that people stay alive. And it's worked for him.
Well, and Todd, the new head of the DNC said that they don't have an issue problem. They just have a messaging problem. You think so?
This, again, to go back to my simpleton approach here in this first block, the answer to this is simple. America was going great. One party came in and screwed it up over 4 years. The party that said, we're going to undo all the things that got screwed up, they won the election. What more do you need if you're the Democratic Party? They love to do these analysis and studies and everything. Just give the American people the country that they had grown accustomed to and stop trying to change things for the worse. It literally is that simple.
Well, but Jason, we saw literally when they were trying to decide who was going to head the DNC, they essentially said, the reason that they didn't win is because of misogyny and sexism.
Yeah, they have no clue. Look, Democrats lost two things. They lost common sense and they lost the American worker. Those are now owned by the Republicans, and Democrats are going to fight that. Go ahead. You're going to be against common sense and you're going to be against the American worker.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see.